ma'am. My name is Pratap. I am from 4th year CSCA. I would like to explain about hierarchical clustering. Hierarchical clustering. Hierarchical clustering is a connectivity based clustering model that groups the data points together that are close to each other based on the measure of similarity or distance. The assumption is that data points that are close to each other are more similar or related than data points that are further apart. A dendrogram, a tree-like figure produced by hierarchical clustering, depicts the hierarchical relationship between groups. Individual data points are located at the bottom of the dendrogram, while the largest clusters, which include all the data points, are located at the top. In order to generate different number of clusters, the dendrogram can be sliced at various heights. The dendrogram is created by iteratively merging or splitting clusters based on the measures of similarity or distance between data points. Clusters are divided or measured repeatedly until all data points are contained within a single cluster or until the predetermined number of clusters is attained. Types of hierarchical clustering. There are basically two types of hierarchical clustering. First is agglomerative clustering. Second one is divisive clustering. Hierarchical agglomerative clustering. It is also known as bottom-up approach or hierarchical agglomerative clustering. A structure that is more informative than the unstructured set of clusters written by flat clustering. This clustering algorithm does not require us to specify the number of clusters. Bottom-up algorithms treat each data as a singleton cluster at the outset and then successively agglomerate pairs of clusters until all clusters have been merged into a single cluster that contains all data. Here there are initially consider each and every element as a cluster, such as we have 6 elements and we are considering them as 6 clusters. By observing there, we can say BC are nearer and DE are near, so that BC and DE are considered as each cluster, and then after we can observe F is somewhat near to DE, so that we merged DE F as another cluster, and after that BC and DEF are considered as a single cluster as they are having less distance. So we are getting BC DEF as a single cluster, and after that we are merging all the remaining clusters, that is A. We are getting final cluster as A, B, C, D, E, F. We performed 5 steps here. This is the process of agglomerative, which is a bottom-up approach. Steps. Consider that alphabets as a single clusters and calculate the distance of one cluster from all the other clusters. In the second step, comparable clusters are measured together to form a single cluster. Let's say cluster B and cluster C are very similar to each other. Therefore, we merge them in the second step. Similarly to cluster D and cluster E, at the same at last we get the clusters A, B, C, D, E, F. We recalculate the approximate according to the algorithm and merge the two nearest clusters D, E, F together to form new cluster as A, B, C, D, E, F. Repeat the same process. The clusters D, E, F and B, C are comparable and measured together to be form a new cluster. We now left with clusters A, B, C, D, E, F. At last, the two remaining clusters are merged together to form a single cluster A, B, C, D, E, F. This is the process of agglomerative clustering. Hierarchal divisive clustering. It is also known as a top-down approach. This algorithm also does not require to pre-specify the number of clusters. Top-down clustering requires a method for splitting a cluster that contains the whole data and proceeds by splitting clusters recursively until individual data have been split into singleton clusters. Computing distance matrix. While merging two clusters, we check the distance between every pair of clusters and merge the pair with the least distance or most similar. But the question is, how is that distance determined? There is different ways of defining inner cluster distance similarity. Some of them are min distance. Find the min distance between any 2 points of the cluster. Max distance. Find the max distance between any 2 points of the cluster. Group average. Find the average distance between every 2 points of the cluster. Watts method. The similarity of two clusters is based on the increase in squared error when two clusters are measured. For example, if we group a data use group given data using different methods, we may get different results. Distance matrix comparison in hierarchical clustering. Minimum value. When we consider minimum value, when we can minimum distance, next maximum distance, group average, and Watts method. Thank you.